We welcome you once again to our weekly blog, and especially my fellow Americans, though I'm now a dual citizen and got my passport recently, but it's Thanksgiving Day in the United States. We had a little Thanksgiving team event right here in our little team house yesterday. So greetings, Thanksgiving greetings, especially to those of you there in the USA and Americans around the world, as there are so many Americans all over the world. I wanted to start off with a little humor because we're being hit with so many serious situations, including news just came now that 27 people get in Britain on these small boats have just died in the English Channel. And one of the worst English Channel fatalities in decades. So we're bombarded with sad news, but somehow we got to learn how to process sadness and stay motivated. One of the main purposes of these blogs is to keep you encouraged, keep you motivated, keep you in the action. Just had news that 35% of all the pastors in America would like to get out of the ministry. There's been burnout, there's been breakdowns. I wish they'd all read my book, Messiology, because I think this prepares people. This really prepares people for situations where everything seems to be going wrong. I've had tremendous feedback. We're supplying this now free of charge. I appreciate those of you who make that extra effort to send me an email. We found out it's very hard to get Facebook and YouTube, even my website friends says ever sit down and send an email, especially with their address, so I can send them some of these books. But there it is again, my email address. At least write it down, because also together with the items I'd like to send, I want to include my calendar for next year. I think we're going to soon run out of these, but this is a beautiful calendar. Every month has a fantastic photograph. And if you live in the UK, you can also get a diary. They're not used so much anymore, and our stock hasn't arrived yet, and so it might take a while. But let me just read this. That really touched my heart, especially because I'm a grandpa. And this was sent to me by somebody, I guess, wanting to encourage me. The computer swallowed Grandpa. Yes, honestly, it's true. He pressed Control and Enter and disappeared from view. It devoured him completely. The thought just makes me squirm. He must have caught a virus or been eaten by a worm. I searched through the recycle bin and files of every kind. I've even used the internet, but nothing did I find. In desperation, I asked Jeeves, my searcher, to review. The reply from him was negative. Not a thing was found online. So if inside your inbox, my grandpa should you see, please copy, scan, and paste him and send him back to me. Wow. Especially relevant for us grandpas. We really don't want to disappear. We'll certainly need to be very careful with our laptops, something I spend sometimes 7 hours a day on. In my life, the big news, which I touched on last week, is that my sister has gone home to be with the Lord, Bobby Verwer Cooper. And on December 5th, there in New Jersey, there will be a memorial service for her at Grace Community Church there in Franklin Lakes, right on 686 Franklin Avenue, Franklin Lakes, New Jersey, 07417, in case any of you live near that area. I think it'll be available on Zoom, again through email. I can link you up. I'd also love to send you this tribute I've written about her. I can't take the time to read it all right now, but again, I've had feedback from people that were really encouraged as they read about my amazing sister, who had 4 children, now more grandkids than I can count. Some great grandkids. We were very close. I share that in the letter, and I can send that to you, even click by email, or of course, hard copy. I wanted to just show 2 photographs that show my sister. The first one is of our whole family when I guess I was about 11. And this photograph is on the back also of the tribute. My daughter especially is very good at family roots. She comes up with all kinds of things. And look at this amazing picture when my sister and I were playing baseball, and she was the catcher and I was trying to hit the ball. I don't think many have ever seen that photograph. I hope it comes out. So we're giving thanks for her life, and I know many of you have lost loved ones. And I just want to again express that God's grace is available. He giveth more grace when the burden grows greater. He increases our strength when the labors increase. To added affliction, he addeth his mercy. To multiplied trials, his multiplied peace. And I just pray you'll allow the Lord to comfort you. There are some great books on grief, including one by Danny Smith about his daughter Jessica. And again, I'd be happy to try to get a copy of that to you. So also you can often find these books on Amazon. I'm so grateful that some of you have agreed to become distributors, especially written about internal climate change. And again, if you send your email, we can send our Christmas book pack. We'll probably put one of those leaflets, but we're really looking for people that would distribute lots of copies. That big event in Glasgow, praise the Lord, some of his people were out in the streets giving out that leaflet to people who were there for the climate change conference. I wanted to talk to you about movies and music, which have been such an important part of my life. And I'm just reading a new book showing the huge impact of contemporary music that came in to some degree in my lifetime, that literally transformed, even though many churches divided over it and Christians, certain conservative Christians fought against it. This kind of worship music and a renewed emphasis on worship spread throughout the world. This book and other articles that I've been reading for decades just show how the Holy Spirit has used this whole new movement. It doesn't mean God stopped using older things or great hymns, which I'm very much into, but it shows, as I try to bring out in my book, Messiology, how God works in a much wider, broader way than we often realize. I had this dream many years ago that as I take so many meetings, many of them evangelistic meetings, that I'd have a musician who could travel with me. And God heard that prayer once, well, more than once, when I was preaching at the missions conference in Biola. Many years later, he gave me my honorary doctorate. And I was preaching, and a man came up, found out later his name was Bill Drake, to play the piano. I had become very linked with Keith Green and loved his music. You can get his music on the internet, Keith Green. He went very suddenly to be with the Lord through an airplane crash. But when Bill played that day, it reminded me of Keith Green. And I was so ministered to and worshiped before I was about to preach. So when Bill went to sit down, I called him to come back. And according to him, I said something like, really, California has enough musicians. You need to go to the regions beyond. He fought that for 2 years. He did come back and play the piano, and you need to hear him share it. You can hear him share it on his fantastic website. And I just Googled his name the other day, and there soon I was listening to some of his music. One of his albums is called Crimson Thread of Grace. Crimson Thread of Grace. One that I've just listened to recently, he has a number of them, including some DVDs, is called Aroma. For 2 years, Bill fought joining our mission force, and then God broke him, and he took that step of faith together with his wife to leave California, join me in London, and travel with me to meetings. And they were absolutely fantastic meetings all over the world with his powerful, transformational music, touching lives. As his ministry developed, I thought, well, now maybe I could go. He moved back to the States, and Bill Drake continues to have very large responsibilities in OM, especially in the whole area of global arts, which is one of the fastest growing parts of Operation Mobilization. There's another name I want to mention to you. You can Google and find out about it. It's Ted Baehr of Movie Guide. Ted's dream and vision was to change Hollywood and get them to have more family-friendly films. His ministry now has been going on for decades. He has this sort of Christian Oscars event in which prizes are given for family films, good ethical films, Christian films, quite a wide range. And I've been to that event 2 or 3 times. I'm part of his council of reference. I used to get Movie Guide magazine, but they don't put it in print anymore. But you can just Google Movie Guide, and you will be able to get almost every new film that comes out reviewed. And if you're following Hollywood, though they still produce a lot of terrible films, and other film studios all over the world, including India and Britain, there are many family films. He also, in his writings, touches on the history of how the church was so narrow and so conservative in the 30s, 40s, and 50s when film first came out, that though originally Christians were very much standing with the film industry, they turned against it. It's an example of black and white thinking. I believe it's a huge mistake. That's not to judge those people. As I point out in my book, Messiology, God works within our culture. And in the 50s and 60s, even before that, that's all the church knew. And even when I went to Moody, I had to sign a statement that I would not go to the movies. It's a great mistake. It's normal that any movement, including the church, makes mistakes. We should not be afraid to admit mistakes. We should acknowledge how God worked in the midst of that, but how God wanted to bring change, wanted to bring greater transformation. And we know simultaneously with what was going on in the big studios, God raised up people like Ken Anderson, who birthed more straightforward Christian films, which are now all available through that fantastic website of Vision TV, including my own film of my life story, George for Real. God uses a wide range of films. Some only are more pre-evangelistic. Some are just dealing with important ethical issues that may not appear to be Christian in any way, but Christian values are coming out in many, many films. Even in that riot film, Up in the Air, which seemed to be a no anti-values film, in the last 2 minutes of the film, the importance of Christian values came jumping through the screen. I'll never forget it. I think I had to go and see that film again. Music and films, not all of them, have been an important part of my life. When it comes to music, I'm sure your range of what you enjoy could not possibly be as wide as mine. It's a bit difficult sometimes to even understand ourselves, why we one day enjoy one kind of music and another day different music. I'm often listening to classic music, but my favorite band really is Dire Straits. I told someone that. I think they found it a bit upsetting. Our God is doing much more around the world than we realize. Also, he raised up a man in OM, a great musician named Frank Fortunato, who almost died in our worst accident back when we had the nation of Yugoslavia. And the Lord raised him up, and he was one of the founders of the whole global musicology movement of helping people in all different languages, all different groups, to develop their own worship music. I can put you in touch with Frank as well, or Bill Drake. They'd love to hear from you. And I just believe we need to embrace what God is doing through the movies and through music and become as proactive as possible ourselves to touch more people's lives and to stay positive in the midst of a very negative world. God bless you. I'm looking forward to that email, george.verwer@om.org. Check out also my website, where you can also get my latest newsletter, in which I also speak about my sister. God bless.